LLORUT.
Saribonani balaleli, it's back into your show weekly LLORUT le. Namta sikhuluma as a business, and today we have a very special guest. Say, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. How has it been your morning?
The morning has been good, especially after you invited me to this show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ty. Thank you also for making time on your busy schedule to come to us today.
It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you, sir. Now, sir, could you please introduce yourself to abalaleli abafuna bakwazi ukuthi namhlanje ngobani uhamba njani?
Thank you very much. My name is Mpala, currently the acting Pro-Vice Chancellor for Lupane State University, where as part of my duties is to assist the Vice Chancellor as we administer the university and we implement Education 5.0. I'm sure the whole of Zimbabwe is aware of Education 5.0, where we have added on to the usual Education 3.0, innovation and industrialization to make it 5.0.
Okay. That's quite interesting. So namhla i-topic yethu sikhuluma nge-entrepreneurship eZimbabwe. Ingazi abalaleli abaningi bali there's too much confusion outside there ukuthi but what really is an entrepreneur? Ngingabachasela nje ukuthi what is an entrepreneur, or what's your view about entrepreneurship?
Thank you very much. Agreed indeed. Entrepreneurship is a confusing term for most people, but there is a Zimbabwean way of defining what entrepreneurship is. Most people think that entrepreneurship in Zimbabwe is getting into a business, formal or informal. But without getting deep into the academic definition of entrepreneurship, as expounded by various authorities in the field, an entrepreneur is a person that makes do by applying a combination of resources at hand to new problems and opportunities. So we are looking at using what you have at hand, without you rushing into things that you don't have.
That's very interesting. Yeah, well, and also, Jova, like you mentioned it's about choosing what you have. The current economical crisis, Singani is shaking yana. How entrepreneurs basically supposed to navigate?
Like I have just said, Zimbabweans are very clever people. They use what they have. They identify opportunities, and with the legal resources that they have, they find a way to survive. And this is what has kept the country going despite so many challenges that it is facing.
That's true. Nyakwazi abanengi, you know, as an entrepreneur myself, sometimes I get to use YouTube to research about topics, get to know about my business. So kuqakathekile ukuthi nxa umuntu usebenzisa amathuba lawo at your disposal, you know, to actually further yourself. COVID has affected businesses in Zimbabwe. You know, it's wreaked havoc, as I might say. Like how in terms of amazwe, yes, but challenges abo, but it's affected jani COVID in Zimbabwe.
COVID in Zimbabwe has been a challenge, a big challenge to us. We were already facing various other challenges like economic sanctions, challenges that have been caused by some of us. Here I'm referring to what we call the Pareto principle, if you have heard of it, or the 80-20 rule, where the outcomes or outputs of what we currently are caused by a few people who constitute maybe 20%. When government comes up with ways and plans of making the country move forward, the very few are also looking at what those plans are and saying how can we benefit from this new rule or pronouncement that has been made. So really COVID has been a challenge in Zimbabwe. For instance, we all know that at some point people were asked to stay at home.
Yes.
And when you stay at home, that means you are not buying.
That's
it's
true.
only a few people that could buy online.
Yes.
That means it's those who are privileged.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the rest, small businesses, they suffered. However, despite businesses having been affected negatively,
Yes.
there are businesses which were affected positively, meaning that they grew overnight.
All right.
Right?
Yes.
For instance, suddenly people were asked to put on masks.
All right.
So when you are putting on masks, you have to procure the mask somewhere.
Yes.
People started making these, but eventually, I think, with the trend, people lost interest in the masks that we are making at home with our pieces of cloth,
Yes.
cutting a shirt here and there and putting a string. And then people started to buy these masks. So someone saw an opportunity and started buying.
Okay.
Started producing those masks. You have businesses like our ICT business. Schools closed, but learning was supposed to continue. So what happened? Those in the business of ICT were providing data to people. More and more people were supposed to procure data, despite the cost of that data. So that means those businesses, they had a boom in terms of how they are running the businesses. So really, it's a mixed bag, but generally, most businesses were affected negatively.
Yeah, most people like generally because ungakhayela thina sasitshona endlini qeda apho zethu after 2 weeks sivulile mbijana gijimele ethenga. So if you are in the businesses of these perishable goods, it affected you negatively into yakhona. Certainly. Now, there's this ongoing crisis in Europe. You know, Russia is saying, if you want my fuel, buy in rubles, you know, and the price of fuel has risen across the world. In Europe, they are complaining that the price of fuel is rising up. How has this affected businesses and entrepreneurship? Because global economics is at play currently. So what's your take on that, sir?
Right. Yes, businesses have been affected.
Yes.
But the challenge we have in our country is we tend to over-amplify some of these challenges by way of the 80-20% rule I was talking about. There are some people who are looking at an opportunity, not a normal opportunity, but how they can amass wealth through a crisis. For instance, you look at this increase in fuel. Instead of someone increasing their product in relationship to the increase in fuel, they will increase, yes, but not in relationship. They are going to multiply the effect, exaggerate the effect, instead of increasing in relationship to the fuel cost.
Okay.
So yes, the increases will affect mostly the end consumer. Those in business will try and cushion themselves by passing on the cost to the consumer.
Okay.
But they don't pass on the relative cost.
Okay.
But they pass on the relative cost plus a significant profit over and above that. And once the cost has increased, rarely in our country have we seen a situation where the prices go down when things normalize.
Liqiniso akusanga uthi hayi sitho sezilukile ama-price sesehla kanti ama-business eZimbabwe kanti ajali iwaphi ama-business wayengafuni ukwehlisa ama-price laba abantu besehlisa ngapha nxa kukhweza kuyakhweza, you know. Khathesi njengoba kunje uzezwa ama-telecommunication companies othi hayi i-price yedatha sikhwela because of cost, you know, isikwa sesikhwela hayi kunzima. So what would be your advice then to someone who is starting out as an entrepreneur or someone who's in business in terms of mapping the way forward?
I think as an advice, as a Zimbabwe, we need to begin to be ethical.
All right.
We are our own enemies because we don't look at the other person. Each one looks at themselves. But for an entrepreneur, what I think is important is avoid the Me Too business. Me Too business.
All right.
Where someone says, I've seen Mr. Mpala doing this.
Yes.
Let me also do it. It's you don't know the skills that the other person has got.
All right.
So what we need to do as an entrepreneur generally, you must have management, a background of management.
All right.
Right? Where I'm talking of, say, your financial literacy.
All right.
How can you run a business if you don't have basic financial literacy skills? You need to be able to manage that small business. You need to be able to at least carry out some of the activities having had basic management principles.
All right.
And we are saying that skill, that knowledge is available everywhere.
All right.
These days you have internet. If you don't want to go to school, if you go to YouTube, for instance,
yes,
you can read about financial literacy.
All right.
If you are one of those people that need a human face in front of you,
yes,
you have your colleges, you have universities, you have Lupana State as one of them,
yes,
that can give you those basic skills in running a business.
All right.
Once you have that, you are good to go and start trying to run your business. And should you need any assistance in the process,
yes,
colleges, universities, particularly Lupana State, will be available,
yes,
to assist you in whatever endeavor you are trying to.
Yes.
And more so with the Education 5.0, which the government of Zimbabwe has pronounced, most learning institutions are making sure that what they teach you is practical.
All right.
You hit the ground running once you have learned those skills.
All right.
Thank you.
So thank you, sir. Just on a lighter note, so how important is it to umuntu as develop in terms of pitching their idea? Because understanding they tend to not to want to know how to sell themselves. Because the
way I look at it is to start. When you don't start and you keep your idea in theory, in the head, in paper,
yes,
without really starting,
yes,
then you may never know your potential.
All right.
Start and see where you go. It may take you places. I see you have started yourself.
Yes, thank you. I've started. Lezo malele ungaqili idea ekhanda, ungaqili chova khaya kukuziba. Khaya nanko sile comment lapha ethi morning Mr. Mpala. The problem with Zimbabwe businesses is ukuthi they think they are doing the consumers a big favor, so they don't care about the product quality. They care about increasing prices. Usavuye eNewton West. Can you attest that to point yenu ukuthi hayi abanakekela abantu ama-consumers? Yeah. So as we're about to wrap up, your closing remarks.
My closing remarks are, as Lupana State University,
yes,
we have a motto which says building communities through knowledge.
All right.
The university is for the people.
Yeah.
People should approach the university and say, I need to get this service.
Yes.
And the university will develop something in line with what you require.
All right.
Anytime, anyway.
All right.
This does not only go for Lupana State. Many other institutions of learning,
yes, I'm
sure they are ready to do such services.
I say sabonga balaleli sibongile se. Thank you for making time. Thank you once again. I hope to hear from you in the future, maybe just to follow up on certain things that you have discussed.
Thank you very much. It will be a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Ithi lo sesikhuluma ke. Kanti vele for those people who wanna ask, what do you think an entrepreneur is? We got some really excellent advice from the 18 PVC of Lupane State. What really is your take on entrepreneurship? You know, because from my experience, there are some people who go around saying I'm an entrepreneur. You know, I sell this, I sell that. Kanti vele umuntu entrepreneur unjani ngokuzwa kwakho ngokubona kwakho? You know, lately we've got these famous entrepreneurs, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, abaqalisa ama-company. So ezisikhathi uqakathekile ukuthi nje umuntu lawe, you know, you initiate your idea, you plan out, you start out. As you recall, last week we talked about writing a business plan. So now as an entrepreneur, you need to have the personality trait. You know, you need to be that person who has a go-to mentality, you know, because this kind of thing we have a present. There's something that we call a pitch. You know, you need to know how to pitch your idea. The elevator pitch, which is a 30-second pitch that allows you to actually try and test out your idea in 30 seconds. You know, you can start by saying, maybe elevator. So say, good morning, say, my name is Chancellor. I've got this business plan which I want to execute. It's based on selling books. I have an idea that you know, the cost of books is now expensive, so I intend to start printing books which are more affordable to the public, and the return rate and the market is already there. I'm gonna supply using retail outlets, and when parents enter into stores, they're gonna see the books. Since they're affordable, they'll be able to buy their children. You know, that's just an idea of what a pitch is. This is you are basically to summarize the idea yako ikuyini. What is the benefit to the investor? Investor yona iyabe yathola njani imali yayo at the end of the day. Iyabe yayenza njani ukuthi alright mana ngithini? Mana ngithi umfalo ongamnika i10,000. Iyaphenduka isimalini ngumuntu anothi bayawunika i10,000. Yayehla iprice ivalue iphenduke si5,000 because akula investor efuna ukuchaya loss. Get that straight. There is no investor who wants to invest in a business, who wants to invest in a product and make a loss at the end of the day. You need to be able to generate profit for that investor. And when you generate profit for that investor, you grow your business, you expand to new markets. Especially like since things are slowly getting back to normal, schools are opened, borders are now opened. You know, I understand that Botswana ivula amabhoda ayo. South Africa abasagqoka ama-mask ngokuzwa kwami. I'm not quite sure. Kenya, I'm not sure. So nxa ukuthi business ethengisa ama-mask, you now need to think ahead. Sengunqoba indlebe. Other countries abasagqoka ama-mask. So wena nxa business yakho ibikuthengisa ama-mask, so futhi uqalisa ukubona ukuthi alright, i-profit le ngithole from selling masks. How am I going to use that money to start another business which is going to retain the same amount of money that I've been getting? Because by now, ufuze uthi nxa wawungaregister in company, so ufuze register. So ufuze register company yakho ube legal, because next week I'll be bringing guys from Zimbabwe to talk about these issues. Amayelana ngama taxations ukuthi kanti vele nxa uthiwa income tax kuyini. Nxa uthawule esikwelete eZimbabwe kuyini kufuze ukuhambe njani. So into ezinjalo futhi uzinanzelele njengomuntu uthi alright, I've started my business, I'm executing it. So if I'm to execute it, what's required? You understand? You have got your pitch, but now the character traits, the personality trait, the go-get-to mentality. I khona uthi utshona udiscussa kuma WhatsApp group usithi I've got this great idea, phandle lapha kulamasela people steal ideas, so it's best to get your idea registered and to know ukuthi what really is required in your industry. What does the government of Zimbabwe require you to have in order to start a business? Kula njalo nxa ufuqa si restaurant, I think ufuze upasa ama test from a city council ukucheck ukuthi kati indawo yakho is it properly sanitized, because kula lapha abantu abaningi abathenga khona ukudla asoze siziqambile izindawo but uyathola kungekho hygienic. Besicela khona abantu abakhala indaba zabaleza sicela ikhaya ukuthi kanti lapha esithatha khona ukudla kusmart njalo, because at the end of the day yizi izinto ezibangele ukuthi abantu beqasa ukugula kanti ubula yini food poisoning. So if you know how to properly structure a business plan, yizi izinto ozathi nxa usupitcha i-idea yakho as an entrepreneur to an investor umchasela ukuthi no man, i-idea yami inje, this is how I plan to get regularized, this is how I plan to show the people how smart I am, because nxa urun i-restaurant ufuze ube ngumuntu osmart. Ama-restaurant afuni umuntu olichapha, afuni umuntu wakwazi ukuclean. Istaff sakho ufuze sibe nama-apron kukangaki ngena kuma-restaurant uthole abantu bagqoke i-casual, omunye ugqoke i-casual, omunye ugqokeni. Ufuze ube le-smartness. Nxa umuntu la ingena eze kulomoya oqandelelayo ngapha kushawa u-R&B ngoma ezimnandinyana, lokho aka-encourage ukuthi umuntu ephenduke futhi esitolo sakhe ezothenga ukudla.
You are listening to Sky's Metro FM. We sincerely apologize for the break in transmission. Our technical team is working on restoring your favorite programming. Keep it 100.3 FM.
The way I love Sky's Metro, it takes me beyond the sky. Yeah.
bese sikhulumile laphana nge-entrepreneurship. I've noticed angingazi recently last week bekule Hustler Summit, a lot of these guys are starting to pitch up who offer advices. I'm gonna be honest with you, be wary of people who portray themselves as gurus. Kulabantu abahamba beqamba amanga berobha abantu bekubhadalisa imali bethi hayi I'll teach you about business, I'll teach you how to start a business successfully, but you always do a background check emuntwini okufundisa i-business. Always do a background check. Omunye umuntu abekhuluma into angayaziyo kuqakathekile ukuthi uchaye background check because sengabona abantu abaningi in fact lamabhuku amaningi abhalwa isikhathi esiningi. You need to ask yourself one or two questions. Ukuthi umuntu lo, does this person really know what they're actually talking about. That point is really important. That way, noma uqalisa izinto, you know what to take in. These days, kule YouTube ilama search results amaningi. Ungathi what is entrepreneurship? Kuyaphuma abantu abaningi. Isikhathi esiningi kwapha nxa ungakwazi udisisa information kulabantu ababekhuluma izinto abangazaziyo. Babengakwazi ukuthi kanti alright ngikhuluma ngalokho kuhamba njani. You know, you get the sense ukuthi no man. Umuntu lo into ayikhulumayo angizwisisi kahle. So it's really important as an entrepreneur when you're building yourself to ask yourself those questions. Ukuthi information le engifunayo ngiyithola ngaphi? Because you need credible information. You need to be well aware of the type of information oyiconsumayo. Information anoyitholayo ngoba kwezi izikhathi uzathola information udayi ibali ibhuku elinje ibhuku leli kungenisa iganga. Izinto zangikhona zi-apply on a certain environment, you know, especially these American books, they show you all of these things, which you know you do it like this, but shift okufake local landscape yethu. Uzathola most of those principles don't apply. Ngiyaba kusala ukuthi ukuvume kahle. Check upon the latest news making the headlines. Namhla kuthiwa rapid meat cooking competition for Bulawayo. So labana bakwazi ukupheka sake sakhuma ngama rabbits. Khanya kuzaba kule competition yokupheka. You know ukuthi kanti who can really cook off a good nice rabbit meat, you know, which is so kufuze suqathekise kokhantu kanti all right, what really is upheka njani rabbit futhi ubekwazi ukuthi hayi rabbit yami yayipheka so kule competition ezabe yenziwa lokho khunyo thwa the International Trade Fair Company Deputy Chief Executive Officer Ms. Stella Nkomo said the organization will be the guest judge supported by the hotel industry veterans. So look out for that. So if you wanna know if you can cook rabbit, ufu kwanza upheka imvundla, you know, start practicing. There's a competition out there ezabi hostwa. Also, women entrepreneurs are asked to develop strong networks. You know, when it comes to entrepreneurship, usually most guys that you hear about are men. What's this? Ama networking groups. You know, it doesn't have to be something big. It doesn't have to be something super flamboyant. You know, just networking. Get together as women and lihlale phansi likhala ama problems elingathakla. You develop a plan, a proposal, and then you pitch those. You know, you develop strong networks. Local kuzayenza maybe network and maybe who's going abroad, they can bring you a certain product or a tool that you need to actually start your business. So it's really, really important to develop networks. Remember, networks are what make you grow. Networks are what make you grow. They allow you to talk, to communicate with different types of people in order for them to provide you with the services that are required. Oh, so this other headline is Zim tourism arrivals dropped by 40%. Ooh. So tourist arrivals in Zimbabwe declined by 40% to 375,000 in 2021. This is the result of COVID. This is the time for local tourist resorts to actually boost local tourism. Manje problem ama local tourism hotspot lawa eZimbabwe ayadura kakhulu, ayadura. You know, sometimes uyafunda la ukafika eChipangalo ufika endalo ezijele, but ukhayela ibudget yakho lo uyafuza ube layo. This ukhayela lokuthi kathi vele how am I gonna get there? Number one, and number two, imali yayilenza ayithatha ngayo. So besicela ama local tourism abantu abatsha abahostayo sicela iprices izinto zempela zibe affordable ngebond futhi because abanye usually inzima ukuthola. So siyacela ngoba ngapha khanya sokudrop 40%, which means income ayingeni. Hey, so my apologies, cancel network problem. Manje la wade besenda ama messages. Hey, ay khala mhlaka ilahla ngikwazi ngumkhathi lo sofuka utshitsha sofuka untshintshela lama message egele kaxolisa bakithi ungaboni ignore sisithi kathi uthamo namhlaka wabali message yami. Hayi yaxolisa sazama ukubona ukuthi kathi network ethi iphambaniseke ngaphi lapha. Anyway, so thank you for tuning in to LLORUT Business Show. Remember, ishow lay at the corner. If you wanna listen to it, I'm gonna post the audio recording on YouTube. Just search for LLORUT Skies Metro. It was Aitola Lapanus Lalele. You get to know what we have been talking about. Like we said, we had a special guest today who talked briefly about entrepreneurship in Zimbabwe. And next week I'll be bringing up some guys to talk about taxation issues. So on your tax next week, make the time. If you can't make the time, I'll post the audio on YouTube. Remember, subscribe. Nyabonga balaleli. Sale kahle.